One of the secrets to success, one of the 97 secrets to success has to be reading. And one of the books that I'm reading right now is Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. So if you've never heard of this guy, I'm a Canadian. I live in Canada. I know Grant's been to Canada a few times. I don't know if he's been to Calgary, but I know he's been to Canada. And his book is basically, in a nutshell, obviously, is be obsessed or you'll be average. Because when he was young, people used to tell him that, among many things, but you'll never amount to anything. You're a drug addict, all this kind of stuff. Because when he was younger, he was a drug addict. Just out of high school, he struggled with drugs, alcohol, that kind of stuff. He would get into fights with football players because he'd go after their girlfriends, all that kind of stuff. And he was just a mess. And when he was younger, his dad died when he was 10. His mom wanted him to go to college because that's what people did, is they went to college. So he went 5 years to college, basically became an accountant, didn't use it too much, decided to go into car sales. He got a job offer as a car salesman and wanted to kick his habit as well. And one thing that he found was that he was always obsessed with something. And most of the time it was something bad. So what he did is he flipped it around to start doing something good. And that one thing that he started to do was work on himself. That was one of the tips to become successful, is work on yourself. And that's why I read books every single day. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I read for at least an hour, 2 hours in the morning. I come home after work. I read for another couple of hours, and then I read for another couple of hours before I go to bed. So I probably read anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day. And on weekends, it's more than that. So I love sports. I love watching all kinds of sports. But my priority is working on myself. I spend a lot of time. In this book, Be Obsessed or Be Average, Grant Cardone talks about feeding the beast. And I believe it's chapter 4 talks about that, feeding the beast. What is feeding the beast? Feeding the beast is basically using all your resources that you have into making yourself better, learning more. If it's audio, we don't have audio tapes anymore, but maybe it's podcasts. You need to basically, not only do you need to drink the Kool-Aid, but you need to swim in the Kool-Aid. And part of that is you need to be 100% in. So if you're in car sales, you need to be listening to podcasts. You need to be taking sales courses, seminars, reading books on sales, how to close people, all that kind of stuff. You need to be 100% in. So Grant calls that feeding the beast. So when you're building yourself up and you're educating yourself, you're making yourself better so that eventually you could dominate your market, you're going to become successful. And again, what I do is I read daily. I read books like this because I don't want to be average. The average CEO reads over 20 books. Let's just say I've heard as high as 35 books or more. Warren Buffett reads 6 hours a day. Bill Gates likes to read books. So who am I to say that reading isn't good for me? And I know there are many people out there that say, you know what, Shane, I don't have time to read. I get it, but you need to make time to read. I consider myself an average, maybe a little bit better than average reader, but it's only because I read a lot of business books. And sometimes I have to go back and read things over and over again because maybe I don't understand it, or maybe I've read too fast, or whatever it is, but I try to process what the author is trying to read, and I spend time digesting it. Like, this book took me just under 4 hours to read. So in the first chapter, Grant Cardone talks about his life and how he got into, how he became successful, how he changed his mindset from just being average to being obsessed in everything he did. And he talks about obsession is the only option. There is no other option out there. You have to be obsessed. And in his book, he talks about what you need to be obsessed with, and he gives you the tools and the resources to help you figure out what it is that you need to be obsessed with. Maybe it's playing chess or whatever it is, but maybe you just need to tweak a couple of things and find out what you're good at and start changing that so that you can be obsessed with it. So if it's your job, you need to be 100% in your job. So he talks about that in his book. He talks about, again, about nurturing yourself, feeding the beast, learning your craft, being better than everyone else. And he talks about getting rid of the doubters, the naysayers, the haters, getting rid of those people because they're only going to bring you down. And after that, you need to be able to dominate, to win. You have to be in a mindset that you are going to win at everything you do in every area of life. Not just one area, but every area. And he shows you how to stay dangerous, because there are a lot of people out there that just want you to stay in one place. They don't want you to move. They don't want you to work hard. They don't want you to put overtime in, nothing. So he talks about how it is that you can actually stay dangerous. And you need to be obsessed with sales. If you don't know anything about sales, you need to be obsessed, absolutely 100% with sales. And in doing that, you need to be able to come up with a mindset that you should always overpromise and always overdeliver. So that's one of the chapters he talks about. And also building a team around you. You need to be able to build a team around you so that you could build a culture of obsession, that people are wanting to win and they got your back, and you have a culture of team leaders, salesmen, all that kind of stuff. All the people that are working for you, they're all on the same page, because if they're not, they need to go. You need to punt them. And then also, he talks about being a control freak. He controls every area of his life. He is an absolute control freak. He talks about how you can actually be that, how you can actually be a control freak, and why it's good to be a control freak. There are many times he has sales meetings with his guys every single day, every day. And he'll ask for reports, sometimes hourly reports. It drives his people crazy. But it's important to do that, because eventually you need to get to the point where you're being obsessed about, you need to have an obsession about being obsessed. So he talks about that. The obsession has to be a way of life in everything that you do. And it has to be forever. Obsession is forever. There's no choice. If you're not being obsessed, you're only living half a life. So that is what this book is about. And like I said, when I read a book, I try going through it as fast as I can. But I also like to remember what I read. And if you haven't read this book yet, Be Obsessed or Be Average, you need to check it out. So I hope, if nothing else, this will encourage you to pick up a book, start reading it, start figuring out ways that you could be successful in life. So thanks for watching this video. Hope it helps. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.